Well, one of the most frequently asked questions coming from the clients, potential clients, it's about how to actually relocate to China and get the job or work visa under the company that they registered here. So let's go through the process. What kind of documents are required to get a work visa? Let's go there first.
Most common type of work, we don't say work visa like, to generalize everything, but yeah, that's the most common term when they refer to work permit and residence permit, as you know. Work visa, if you ask me, doesn't exist in China. It's not like one visa that allows you to work everywhere. No, but it's a common term. I get it. It consists of work permit and residence permit with the right to work for that same company. It's not an open-end kind of residence permit. So let's start with work permit. You open your company. You want to sponsor yourself with this work permit. Um, First thing, most common pathway is through applying through an academic degree to category B work permit. And academic degree should be from recognized university, and it has to be minimum bachelor's degree. It can be master's and PhD, obviously. It can be from foreign university, as long as the university is recognized. China now has its platform actually to check degrees. If your degree is not available in that platform, then you must contact two organizations. One is Chinese embassy in that country where the degree is issued. Let's say you studied in UK and you obtained your degree in the UK, but this degree is not in the platform, in the Chinese platform. So you contact the Chinese embassy in the UK, ask them to legalize it for you. Number two is apostille office. Apostille office usually belongs to the internal affairs of the country. So they need to, clients contact this office and ask to apostille the degree. Then after that, it will be accepted. So next, non-criminal background check from the country of citizenship, not from the country where you spent a lot of time in. Some people confuse that again. They say, oh, I've been living in China for 10 years, so why do I have to provide from the UK? Well, because the law and policy clearly says that you have to provide it from the country of citizenship. So if your country is UK, United Kingdom, then you need to get it from the UK. And just like your degree, you need to get it legalized. Well, since China joined Apostille Hague Convention, uh, legalization through embassy is not mandatory anymore. I just mentioned that in case your degree is not in the platform, that's, yeah. But for the background check, you can only go to the apostille office and ask the apostille office to actually apostille it. So that's second. Third, you need to provide minimum 2 years professional work experience, which must be either before your education or after your education. So, and of course, it must be paid full-time work experience, and it's usually provided in the form of a letter from the ex-employer. And that letter should clearly mention the position you held, which dates you worked in there. It's minimum 2 years, so you need to mention all of that. Responsibilities, salary, and of course the contacts of the company. It must be printed in a letterhead of the company with the signature of HR manager or the company director. Next thing required is, now in the place where your Chinese company is registered, you need to provide lease agreement for your office and for your apartment. You cannot mix them both together. It's not recommended. Although there are some special buildings which are like both commercial and residential, we don't recommend it because it's, in the eyes of the immigration, it's not serious. They question a lot, especially nowadays. There's a lot of foreigners who come here on a daily basis, open companies, thousands of companies. Actually, take Shanghai, 6,000 companies every year. Take Yiwu, 8,000 companies every year, foreigners. That's a lot of companies actually. So of course, China is also trying to limit the number of work permits, resident permits they're issuing. So therefore, you have to be ready for you know for some sort of financial investment. That being like renting your office separately, renting your place separately. If you mix, they say, well, you're trying to cut corners. Maybe you're not going to benefit the economy. You don't have much funding, so etc. Next, beside the office, of course, you need to provide company documents, full set of company documents. And with that, work permit is an online process, as you know, and it takes around 10 days to get it. Category A, category B. Category A takes half of that, like usually 5 days, something like that. But requirements for category A is different from the ones that I explained now for category B, right? For category A, the only difference is degree is not required. But of course, it comes with financial attachment, which is your salary should be no less than 60,000 in Shanghai per month, and then from 60,000 you generate around 10,000 yuan a month personal income tax. So that's basically for financially stable, financially kind of comfortable people, comfortable companies who can afford to pay such salary to themselves. Category C now, the last category, it's for people who graduate from Chinese universities. Like foreign students graduate from Chinese university, but they don't have work experience, like 2-year work experience. So usually category C is not very recommended because there's more checks for that. The immigration is going to check, obviously, because you're applying as somebody without experience. And you are basically telling the government and promising that I am capable of running the company and etc. So they will check on you more, and extensions will be much tougher. So most recommended types of work permit are B and A. A is second because it's a financial commitment. You promise the government you will be paying yourself 60,000 a month and 10,000 every month personal income tax. If you cannot do that, they will make you pay actually before you leave because it's a promise. And then if you don't pay, then your next visas will be jeopardized, like basically at risk. Yeah. So this is it about work permit. And work permit is like a plastic card. And by the way, from December, China is canceling that work permit anyway. So they will be mixing it, like unifying it with something called social security card. We haven't seen that yet because it's upcoming. And when we have that social security card for our clients, maybe we're going to make a separate video. But now let's stick with this old system. We have this work permit card, assuming after 10 days or after 5 days, in case of category A, you get it. After that, your next step will be to apply for residence permit based on this work permit card. And then residence permit requirements are exactly the same thing. One difference is you need to go to the hospital now to check yourself and get a health certificate from a designated hospital here, attach it on top of all these documents. That's it. And this one is also like first requires a little bit online process that is for opening the labor account of your company. And then there's offline process. You need to go to the immigration office, apply yourself there, and then after 1 or 2 days of application, the immigration office might call you for an interview. Or if you're lucky, they might not call you. If they call you, you just have to go there, be able to explain what sort of business you're doing, why you are doing this business, and what are the projections. And they're not business people, obviously. They will not ask too many questions business related, but put yourself into their shoes. All they want to find out is your ability, to run this company. If you present yourself somebody who doesn't have any idea what they're doing, so your residence permit will be usually shorter than your work permit. Work permit is usually standard 1 year permit card. but that doesn't automatically give you the right to work without the residence permit,
Correct.
the sticker. So if if they are not satisfied during the interview, you might get shorter residence permit, usually 3 months, 6 months. Even we had a client 1 month. He got 1 month. And then it's kind of funny because during the interview, he couldn't probably answer some of the questions, some of the general questions. So they gave him 1 month and they asked him, come back after 1 month with some sort of proof that you're running the company. It can be bank statement of your company that showing you received one payment, It can be several agreements with your Chinese suppliers.
So there's no some particular requirement, like minimum you have to receive 10,000 RMB to your corporate bank account. There's nothing like that.
But I can tell you the logic. The logic behind is the usual expenses, average expenses of the city where you are applying from. In Shanghai, living expense for foreigner, like adult foreigner, is minimum 10, 12, 15,000 RMB per person, irrespective of where you live in Shanghai. It is at least 10,000. You're spending 5,000, let's say, for your apartment, 5,000 for your daily expenses, right? So assuming your company is making slightly less than that, let's say your company is generating 8,000, and then you go to the immigration, obviously they're going to ask questions. Why is that? Because it's less. How are you surviving? We literally had a client, actually. His company received 5,000 only. They went there for extension. They asked them, can you give me your rental agreement for your office and property? And the property costs 5,000. Office costs 3,000. So it's like total 8,000 here. Company is making like 8,000 or 5,000, right? So it doesn't make sense. It's like all expenditure, and they ask, how are you surviving? Where's your salary? Like how much you're getting? So obviously,
Well, yeah, it just has to make sense, pretty much.
It has to make sense.
For example, right, situation, I have a family, I'm married, so we rent apartments, we split half-half. Like if I respond in this matter, saying that, okay, so I have a family, we split the rental fee, half-half, so let's say I pay 5,000 RMB per month, and then office rent we split with my partner as well, half-half. So I pay, instead of 5,000, I pay 2.5K RMB. So in total it adds up to let's say 8,000, right? And then I receive 10K to my corporate bank account. Would it make sense to them in this case?
Of course.
But how do I need to prove it that, okay, look, I have husband and he pays half of the rental, so they don't really...
Well, it depends on the officer, but they're not detailed, to be honest with you. Of course, it's you present yourself. It all depends on that whole presentation, how you carry yourself, When you go there and you tell the officer that you're a married woman, for example, family, of course, if you put it yourself that way, I mean, they are they've seen thousands and thousands of applications, kind of, it makes you a sort of expert at talking to people, and you can easily understand who is lying, who is telling the truth.
Makes sense, yeah.
You don't have to, of course, bring a marriage certificate. No, I don't think so. But at least you have to
be confident and truthful to what you're talking
about. That's the most important thing, truthful. Because we had all sorts of clients, you can't believe sometimes, client, they go to the visa interview and then they start lying because of, they don't have the confidence, they tell different lies.
Try to put themselves in a better light, but actually eventually it turns out to be totally backfires, yes.
Well, this is what happened with one of the clients. She's from one of the African countries. Unfortunately, she was not able to run the company. The company is not making any money for the second year in a row. First time, the officer said, okay, on condition, it's a conditional extension, I'm going to extend it. Next time, please bring some solid proof. And next time she comes, she says, no income. How can that be? The officer says, okay, let me
That's
ask you, where are you living now? She's been living in a hotel. She like first application, she got this apartment. She canceled the apartment contract, which I don't recommend. Don't do that because this is the immigration we're talking about. So once you're renting an office, renting an apartment, keep that. Keep that. Don't cancel. She
right.
canceled and maybe made an agreement with some of the cheaper hotels here. And she didn't mention that in the second time. She said, "Yeah, I'm still living in that same apartment." Well, guess what? They sent people over there. They sent people. They talked to the landlord. The landlord said, "Wow, she canceled the agreement like right after, like 3 months after that. It's been so long time ago." And then what happened? At the end, she got blacklisted here, and they asked her to leave the country within 7 days. So she
That's
got,
very
yeah,
kind, actually, from their side, I
yeah.
would say.
There's something called like humanitarian visa,
Right.
and she got this passport after application. It's like it says 7 day.
Well, that's very generous. So they even gave her seven
Yeah.
days, actually. In some cases, they would just
No,
let
I
you
mean, to
out
me,
immediately.
what's very surprising, Aliona, to me, extremely surprising thing is when all these people apply for visa, work permit, work visa, even green card in different countries, they never question why is it so difficult in there. For example, I mentioned this so many times. Try opening a US company and try sponsoring your work visa in the US. Just try it for the sake of freaking argument. Just try it. Like they keep saying that, oh, China is making very difficult. It's so expensive. No, you don't know what expensive is actually. Try it in Canada.
True.
Open a company, sponsor yourself. Just try it. Try it in France or Italy or I don't know, Britain. See how much investment they require. In the
Right.
US, it's like minimum 200, $300,000. In Canada, minimum 350,000 Canadian dollars. In Britain, it's like close to 2 million pounds sterling, for example, for average company. There are some entrepreneur options, which like 50,000 pounds sterling. I'm not talking about those because those are special things. In Canada, it exists as well, meaning like there are conditions. You have to get angel investment from the country, etc. That's different. We're talking about like general public, like I want to start a company, I want to sponsor myself type of people, right? In whole Europe, it's the same. In China, all they are asking is, for God's sake, get your apartment separate, get your office separate. We're not asking you to put like even $10,000 in the company. Company account can be zero, like this. You don't have to invest anything. All you have to do is just comply with these small things. Get your office, get your apartment, and then run the company for God's sake.
And frankly speaking, if we talk
Why
about
are you starting a company if you cannot run it?
Right. And then if we talk about simple things like rental fees for office and for apartments in Shanghai,
It's very cheap
it is
compared
cheap.
to
Like
Europe,
there's
compared to other.
plenty of places around
Yeah.
where you can even get property like the rentals for, I don't know, 5K per month.
Yeah, I know.
Which is, well,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more remote, of course. It's
Exactly.
not downtown, but then still it's doable. There's something that
Yeah.
still works for every single budget in here.
Yeah.
Right. So let's go back a little bit to the required documents for applying for a work visa or work permit, residence visa. So what if I don't have a bachelor's degree? What if I haven't gotten any degree from any university at all? What options do I have?
Easiest pathway, I would say, is to go through point-based system. But of course, for that, you will have to provide a long work experience, usually minimum 10, 15 years. I would prefer 10, 15 years of work experience so that to, get enough points without a degree. In point-based system, you basically tick all the boxes what you have. You get points for your age, for example. If you are younger than like 50 years, there's point. Your like academic degree, there's point. So and then there's like 10-year, 15-year work experience, you got point. HSK skill like Chinese language ability, that is also point. So if you have enough points without a degree, more experience you provide, the you know more points you will get. So I say uh, we recommend point-based system when you are at least 35 years old. So 35 minus 15 is like 20, right? So you started work life, professional life at 20 years old, which is very logical. And 15 years of work experience can substitute for your degree. You can get enough points and you can apply for requirements are the same, just like we counted above, like a degree, non-criminal background, etc. So in this case, point-based system, you're not able to provide the degree.
Right.
Beside the degree, there's all the other things are the same. Okay, if, for example, you're younger than 35, what then? You're not able to provide 15 years of work experience. Then the only, not only one of the few options is like applying as an investor. But when you apply as an investor, usually there are monetary attachments, like for example, need to hire a Chinese person, pay their social security, and salary, your own salary should be around 30,000 as well. Or even if you don't like pay yourself 35,000, they usually ask you like $10,000 investment to your company.
Right.
So all these kind of attachments. And then of course category A, as we counted, for category A, degree is not required.
Only
Even
60K RMB per
yeah, the
month.
60K RMB, 10,000 yuan personal income tax. And also interesting thing for category A,
Easy.
criminal background check is not also
Not required.
Yeah.
Right.
It's for highly skilled, very super important, super duper important people probably. So yeah, criminal background, no degree, you can still apply for category A. Provided you're able to pay yourself that much salary and pay social, personal income tax every month, 10,000. Yeah, so these are the options basically. And yeah, I understand sometimes people, get too relaxed in the system. They say, well, if they're not getting me visa, how am I supposed to run the company? Well, the world works like that. Entire world works like that. You run the company from distance. The country is not promising you to give a visa just because you register a company. Same example, I go back. Try the same argument with US. Try the same argument with Britain, Canada, Italy, France, Australia, New Zealand. Just try that. Yeah, you can run a company from distance, which is very practical. And nowadays it's been like so many, I don't know, tens of years actually, we are doing it. Like I have several companies in the US. We don't go to the US to run the company. It's internet age, come on.
That's a question for you, a follow-up one. So if, let's say, I cannot, for some reason, come and relocate to China to live in here, but I still want to run my company. I'm doing it from wherever I'm living. Do I still have to have a physical office, though?
Of course.
So physical
Yeah.
office, it's a mandatory condition no matter what. Like
Yeah.
even if I'm not based here, I still have to have one.
Yeah, exactly. You need to have one because there are some things, the policy, for example, policy change, law change, which are not in our control. We are a corporate legal consultancy. We are here to assist you with the process, right? Recently, a couple of weeks ago, literally a couple of weeks ago, the bank stopped accepting registered address of the company. Registered address that we provide for free. It's an economic zone. It's not your office because it belongs to the economic zone. We can register all the companies there. But banks say no. I mean, enough is enough. There are so many foreigners who are taking advantage of this.
Right.
We're not happy about it. So we will just stop accepting. Now what they're doing is asking all the existing clients, even existing ones, please give me the copy of your rental, office rental,
Office
for example.
rental.
Yeah, that's very important. So office is mandatory no matter what. You want the visa, you don't want the visa. If you cannot get a visa, you can hire staff, put them in the office and let them run the company.
Mhm.
It's business. Business is not related to your visa. Your home country is where you can ask these questions. You can demand your rights. You can say, oh, well, it's my humanly right to kind of, be here physically. Yes, because you're a citizen there. You're not a citizen of an alien country, so you cannot demand that kind of stuff. But you can register a company.
But then in this case, okay, so I'm not living in China, I'm running my business from overseas. Can I go for cheapest office I can find in very remote place in Shanghai, or it still has some requirements to be somewhere in the downtown, or
No requirements at all. As long as it's justified. Like usually immigration doesn't like shared office space, as you know. All they want is, even it's like 1 meter by 1 meter office, it should be private office. That's
as long
the
as you
only
have
thing.
the key, you can close the
Yes,
door.
it doesn't matter where in Shanghai actually. It can be in a very remote place of Shanghai. Shanghai is very big, like 16 districts here. Massive actually. You can go to the edge of Shanghai, like literally edge of Shanghai, rent an office there if you want, which is very cheap actually. Maybe like not two, maybe 500 yuan a month. I believe you can find. We had a client actually. He was able to find one for 600 a month. Extremely far. Yeah, the immigration doesn't really care about that, but they might want to verify it, like send people or ask for pictures or call the landlord, etc.